Oh yeah, you know what this means. Let's do this. What's happening, everybody? Justin, Bridgewater's Finest on YouTube, Blockbuster_guy on Twitter, and no matter how much I complained about them, no matter how much I swore up, down, left, right, and center that I wasn't going to pay attention to it this year, god damn it, hockey is in my blood. I can't help it. NHL, we are crawling ever closer to the little season that could, getting into the playoff stretch. We have less than 15 games to go for virtually every team in the league, and just like last year, it's time to figure out which one of these teams is going to make it out of the mini season and into the real season that matters, which is the NHL Playoffs. In the first of this 2-video series on predicting who gets into the NHL playoffs, we're going to take a look at each NHL division, and we're going to take a look at who is going to win those divisions. There is undeniable momentum that comes along with winning your division, and while it doesn't guarantee playoff success, just ask the 3 teams that played Los Angeles last year, you cannot deny that it's big momentum to put up that division banner. We're going to start in the Eastern Conference in the Atlantic Division, one of 2 divisions in the NHL, where I firmly believe that the team that's ahead right now could not play another game and still win their division. In the Atlantic Division in the East, we have the Pittsburgh Penguins, the New Jersey Devils, the New York Rangers, the New York Islanders, and the Philadelphia Flyers in position in that order. Now, Pittsburgh, of course, right now sits with 56 points. Jersey is in second, 17 points back with 39. The Rangers in third, 21 points back with 35. The Islanders with the identical 35 points. The Rangers hold the tiebreaker between those two. And the Flyers bringing up the rear in the Atlantic Division, 23 points behind Pittsburgh with 33 points. Now again, based on the number of points that these teams are down and my own personal predictions for the rest of the season, I think honestly Pittsburgh could not play another game and still finish ahead of at least the Islanders, Flyers, and Rangers. But obviously Pittsburgh's still going to play some games. I think Pittsburgh's got a chance to rake in about maybe 19, 20 points here down the stretch for the rest of the season. I mean, it's a no-brainer. The Pittsburgh Penguins are winning the Atlantic Division, likely going to win the Eastern Conference as well. The other 2 divisions in the Eastern Conference, a little bit closer, but I don't know that I'm 100% convinced that any team in either one of those divisions is going to dethrone the teams that are on top of those divisions right now. But we're going to take a look at the Southeast Division now in the Eastern Conference. This is, of course, the Winnipeg Jets, Carolina Hurricanes, Washington Capitals, Tampa Bay Lightning, and Florida Panthers. This is consistently the weakest division in the Eastern Conference. Now right now, Winnipeg leads this division with 38 points. Carolina and Washington are both 4 points behind in second and third respectively, both with 34 points. Tampa Bay 7 points back with 31 points in fourth, and Florida bringing up the rear in the division with 28 points, 10 back of division-leading Winnipeg. Florida and Tampa Bay, we're not going to waste any time on them because honestly, based on how far they are back now and their schedule the rest of the way, I don't see either one of these teams getting more than 10 points out of the remaining games, so they're a total non-issue. While I think this division would be very close if we had if we had a full season, I think this division would be really competitive and really back and forth. I think based on the short amount of time that we have left, you should be looking for somewhere in the range of about 15 to 17 points the rest of the way for each one of these teams. And I don't see either one of them breaking out enough to catch Winnipeg. So I'm going to take the Winnipeg Jets to hold on, win this division, and most certainly take third in the Eastern Conference heading into the playoffs. Now we'll look at the last division in the Eastern Conference, the Northeast Division, what I believe is the most competitive division in the Eastern Conference. Right now, the Montreal Canadiens lead this division with 49 points. The Boston Bruins are in second place, only 1 point back with 48. Ottawa sits in third with 44 points, 4 points back. Toronto sits in fourth with an identical 44 points, also 4 points back. And you've got Buffalo way back, bringing up the rear, 17 15 points back of Montreal with only 32 points. Buffalo, out the window. I don't see them hitting 10 points in their remaining games. So Buffalo is going to finish way back, could finish as many as 30 points back of whoever wins this division. I think you can actually even axe Toronto from the talks of winning this division. Toronto has had a great season this year, and they've had, well, great half season. But they've had everything in the world to be happy about. They're gonna make the playoffs in all likelihood. They've had a really good season. I just don't see them having enough time. Even though they're playing really well right now, the remaining schedule is tough. I don't see them getting 15 points out of their remaining games. I just don't see them having enough time to put anything together to catch the teams that are at the front of this division. So I think Toronto, you can safely nix from the talks of winning the division. However, Montreal, Boston, and Ottawa, even though Ottawa has the same number of points as Toronto, Ottawa has been playing on another level lately, and I honestly think Ottawa still has a shot at winning this division. Obviously, Boston does. They're only 1 point back. But I honestly think Ottawa has enough time here to try and make something happen. The thing that's really going to work against them is both Montreal and Boston have a game in hand on Ottawa. So that's really going to work against them here. But I think Ottawa can pull 20 points out of their remaining games and really put the pressure on Montreal and Boston to stay hot, stay effective, to try and stay ahead of them here. Most people obviously think this is just a race between the Montreal Canadiens and the Boston Bruins, one of the best rivalries in hockey. Every single time they play, it's intense, it's physical, it's dirty. This is a great series. I would love to see another series between Montreal and Boston because they have had some classic ones in this generation of hockey. They've had some great playoff series. The way that I see the rest of the season going, I don't see Boston or Ottawa keeping enough pace with Montreal. I've been so surprised, so pleasantly surprised out of the play that I've seen from Montreal this year. No matter who's in goal for Montreal, it always feels like they have a chance to win the game. Honestly, I see Montreal cracking at least 20 points in the rest of their games, could be upwards of 25, to actually maybe even put a little bit of pressure on Pittsburgh at the top of the Eastern Conference. They're not going to catch them, but I think they're going to be able to put a little bit of pressure on them here. Honestly, I see Montreal winning the Northeast Division. I'm not going to say Boston's totally out of it, and I'm not going to say Ottawa's totally out of it because both of those teams are fantastic. My prediction, Montreal holds on to win the Northeast Division. We're going to go to the Western Conference now. We're going to start with the division that is over and done with, and that is the Central Division in the Western Conference. This is the Chicago Blackhawks, currently sitting with 55 points. Second place is the Detroit Red Wings with 39 points, 16 points back. Columbus has 37 points. They're 18 points back. St. Louis has 36 points. They're 19 points back. And Nashville brings up the rear, 35 points, 20 points back of Chicago. First of all, how about Columbus? I think Columbus is playing some fantastic hockey here. I have my reservations about whether or not they can keep it up, and we'll talk about that in the next video, but I think Columbus is playing some great hockey. If you would have told me at any point that Columbus would be ahead of St. Louis in the division with less than 15 games to go in the season, I probably would have thought that you were crazy, but great stuff out of Columbus this year. Quite frankly, this is another one of those situations where I think Chicago could not play another game all year and still finish second in this division. Now, obviously, that's not going to happen. I honestly think Chicago, for the rest of the season, based on the rest of their schedule, is going to get the most points out of any team in this division. I'm looking at least 20 for them. I think Detroit can also crack 20, but the deficit here is just way too much. Chicago Blackhawks run away with the Western Conference Central Division. We're going to go down to the Pacific Division, which is not as bad as the Central Division, but I also don't think it's going to be in doubt. Anaheim currently leads this division with 51 points. Los Angeles is in second with 43 points, 8 points back of Anaheim. San Jose is in third with 40 points, so they're 11 points back. Dallas in fourth, 35 points, 16 points behind Anaheim. Phoenix bringing up the rear, 34 points, 17 points behind Anaheim. Quite frankly, in this division this season, it's been the Anaheim Ducks and everybody else. Los Angeles has made things a little interesting at times, and San Jose is not playing bad hockey by any means. But again, this is just one of those situations where deficit's too big, not enough time left. We've only had half of a season to actually try and get separate, so that really makes teams like Chicago and Anaheim that much more special, really, because they've had a shortened period of time, and to be so far ahead, it was something special. It's been something special to watch all year. I think there are multiple teams in this division that make the playoffs, more than likely, but in terms of who wins the division, it's the Anaheim Ducks. They're going to run away with it and take second in the Western Conference. I don't think they have enough to catch Chicago, so Anaheim wins the division, gets the number 2 seed in the Western Conference. Now, the Northwest Division, which is the closest division in the Western Conference, but it's only really close at the top. You got the top 2 teams, and you got everybody else. The Northwest Division currently led on a tiebreaker by the Minnesota Wild with 44 points. Second place is the Vancouver Canucks with an identical 44 points. Third place, Edmonton with 35 points, 9 points back of the leaders. Calgary sits in fourth with 30 points, 14 points back of the division leaders, and Colorado brings up the rear with 28 points, last place in the Western Conference, 16 points back. Now, while I think Colorado has the remaining schedule to make some noise and make a late season playoff push, which more than likely will be unsuccessful, but we'll get into that obviously with the next video, Colorado you can totally count out in terms of winning the division. Calgary you can totally count out in terms of winning the division. I don't think they're playing well enough, both at home and away, to make any kind of a push whatsoever. And Edmonton you can forget about in terms of winning this division. While I think Edmonton will finish the season stronger than Calgary, they just certainly will not have a chance to actually win this division. So this division's a 2-horse race between the 2 teams that are tied, Minnesota Wild, Vancouver Canucks. Whereas when we looked at the Eastern Conference, especially that race between Montreal and Boston, at the very least Montreal and Boston play each other one more time this year. Minnesota and Vancouver do not play each other for the rest of the year. So what it really comes down to is who's got the advantage based on remaining games. Minnesota holds that game in hand against Vancouver. So Minnesota's got 14 games left. Vancouver's only got 13 games left. And ultimately, I think that could come down to being the difference maker. I think these 2 teams are both going to sniff 20 points for the rest of their remaining games. I just think Minnesota's going to end up just that extra little bit on top. They might not win the division until the last game of the season, but I am going to take the Minnesota Wild to hold on and win the Northwest Division in the Western Conference. Those are my division-winning predictions, ladies and gentlemen. So if you're looking at the Eastern Conference, I've got the Pittsburgh Penguins winning the Atlantic Division and also winning the Eastern Conference, finishing in first place with that number 1 overall seed. I have the Montreal Canadiens holding on to win the Northeast Division, taking the number 2 seed in the Eastern Conference. I have the Winnipeg Jets holding on to win the Southeast Division to take seed number 3 in the East. In the Western Conference, we of course have the Chicago Blackhawks running away with the Central Division and more than likely holding on to take that number 1 top seed in the Western Conference heading into the playoffs. Pacific Division, we have Anaheim virtually running away with the Pacific Division. They should be able to win that with relative ease. And in the Northwest Division, in what I think is probably going to come down to the last day of the season, the Minnesota Wild holding on to win that division over the Vancouver Canucks to take the number 3 seed in the Western Conference going to the playoffs. So there are your division winners and your top 3 seeds in both the Eastern and the Western Conference. We got Pittsburgh, Montreal, Winnipeg in the East, Chicago, Anaheim, Minnesota in the West, your top 3 seeds. But who else is going to make the playoffs, get a little extra hockey after the regular season? Tune into the next video and you're going to find out. That's it for me, Justin, Bridgewater's Finest on YouTube, Blockbuster_guy on Twitter, and the playoffs to the mini season are getting closer and closer.